Oh, it's me. It's not DJ Russie B. It's Anton giving you a live West Ham Daily Live. 12:30 on the 9th of January. And I'm here giving you a little cheeky live. It's been a while. Hope you're all well. Keeping safe as per usual. What's been happening? We all excited about the up-and-coming 2-week break? Not, considering we do have a game to play against Bristol City at home. Sorry, away, I should say, Ashton Gate in the FA Cup. If we do get through that, we do then face the winners of the Nottingham Forest and Blackpool game. They have a replay to take as well. But we're here to talk about loads of things. And it's right now, it's the same with West Ham. It never really gives up. It's funny, you sit there and think, what stories can you talk about? And then suddenly things come out from the dark, from everywhere and anywhere. But before we get started onto this West Ham Daily today, I have a new football prizes competition you can enter. So I'll play this little video. Check it out. Is David Moyes the king of Europe? Is Mohamed Kudus the next big thing at West Ham? Would you fancy a cheeky meal in the comfort of the hospitality at the London Stadium whilst watching your beloved West Ham push for European glory? Would you love to have a signed frame top by our Ghanaian star? If you've answered yes to all of those questions, then you will want to listen on and hear what we have got to say from you, because football prizes are back in connection with the West Ham Network. Football prize. Now listen, the first prize we've got for you coming this week, and what a belter it is this as per usual follows. West Ham competition, James Ward-Prowse signed and framed West Ham shirt. Plus, there are 13 other instant prize chances. This competition has just gone live. The competitions at Football Prizes are literally selling out week in and week out. So you have an opportunity. First dibs to get in there. There will be only 149 chances to win. One ticket costs £3.95. Plus, you have 13 other chances to win, which also includes memorabilia signed from Mickey Antonio. So get yourselves over there and get on to the Football Prizes link. Get yourself in and enter in the competition. I will put that in the chat as well. So let me just put this here for you. Great opportunity, great prizes, fantastic framed tops, and the prizes have been relentless this month in particular. So make sure you do go across there and check it out. And like I said, sometimes when we put the clip out, sometimes the tickets have gone and you don't have a chance to enter. So I'm giving you the opportunity to put it in there as well. Now, we are here to talk about some West Ham stories, but before I get cracking on that, I'll jump into the chat and see who's kicking about. Peter Chelmsford, good afternoon. Mr. B and fellow Hammers in the chat room. Good to see you, Peter. Afternoon, Anton, and all in the chat from Wasim Butt. Good to see you, mate. Who do we reckon we're going to sign, Anton? Well, I'll talk through. This particular show is not going to be talking about the signings that I think we should make. So join me at Hammers Headlines, where I'll talk to you about some of the interesting targets that have come out today. Good afternoon, Deep Fried It's a deep fried Snickers bar, mate. It's a deep fried Snickers bar. Mark Watson says, hi, Anton. Good to see you, Mark. Thank you for joining us. Alan Dunn, evening, Peter. Hope you're well, and everyone else. Hello, Anton. Alan Dunn is in the house. Thank you very much. Fine. Yep, all talking to each other. Sweet. FA 24601 is in the house. Yeah, well, mate, in Sydney for a few days whilst there is no game. GP says, best fan channel. There you go. Respect to all the other channels that are out there, of course. So thank you very much for the kind donation as well. A happy Tuesday afternoon to one and all. Mark Pendleton is there. There's the link, of course, to the Football Prizes. World Maltese Hammer says hello, everyone. And DJ Leon Hyde is in the house. Hey, mate, I got a great story about Benny and why he is looking to leave. Steph says Benny is definitely out. He's sold his gaff, confirmed via Rightmove. Doubt he will sign anyone until the last day of it all. And Doghouse says it'll be the same. They will rough it up in the second half and target more volatile players in an attempt to get our players sent off. Right. Let's get cracking with regards to Benrahma. first and foremost, right? We'll come back to it in a second, but let me just address something. Does he want out at West Ham? Loads of the world of the internet are giving stories about the situation when it comes to Benrahma. Benrahma is supposedly looking to get a move away from West Ham this winter window. Now, the situation, from what we understand, is, and it's not 100% confirmed, but we're hearing that he didn't want to feature with as part of the team. I think what we're hearing is he doesn't want to play for the club. Now, if that is true, then so be it. Is he right not wanting to play for the club? He's well within his rights to have his own opinion. Should he do that? No player should. It's not particularly when they get paid. The money that they get paid to be a footballer. And if the coach and the manager does not think you are the right fit for the team, then so be it. Right? Whether or not you like it or I like it or not, the situation with Benrahma is that he hasn't been performing. Nobody can question that. People can question. We're allowed to question the manager's mindset on utilizing the squad. And we've got some really great information with regards to utilizing the squad as well. Let me give you an example of this here. Right. So fair play to DJ Russie B. And he can do a bigger show on it as well. But we've done a little bit of analysis on the narrative that Moyes should rotate the squad like other Premier League teams do. So we've played 29 games so far this season. The most one player has played is JWP with 25 starts, 2 sub appearances, and 9 players have made more than 20 appearances so far in total. So looking at the Premier League specifically, we've used 22 players in the English Premier League. The average is 24. The least used is Wolves with 20, and the most is Chelsea and Brighton, both with 27. West Ham are joint second, along with Everton, Fulham, Liverpool, Man City. Arsenal have used 23, along with Villa, Bournemouth, and Luton. Now, in terms of making 15 plus Premier League appearances, West Ham have 11 players who have made at least 15 Premier League appearances this season, and the average is just over 11. West Ham are just joint fourth in terms of number of players. Liverpool are top with 14. Fulham, Luton, Arsenal with 13. Everton, Man City, Villa, and Spurs with 12. Then us, Bournemouth, and Palace, and Chelsea with 11. So make sure when we come into more depth about that, we actually understand what we're talking about when it comes to utilizing the squad. But if we're not going to utilize a particular player in terms of Saïd Benrahma, then maybe it's time for Saïd Benrahma to go. You're hearing stories about him not happy, not wanting to feature at the game against Bristol City, not wanting to come out and train with the team. However, we saw him training at the start of the game with the rest of the team. So it's a really, really interesting situation when it comes to Benrahma. Do we blame him for wanting to leave the club? Well, if you want to play regular football, then no. But if we can get and protect the asset and get as much money as we can, if we can get close to 25, 30 million quid for a player like Benrahma and he goes to Saudi Arabia, like that is a no-brainer, an absolute no-brainer. I thank him for his time, but I think his relationship is definitely done with the club, 100%. Now, Leon is saying, my aunt cleans his house. She's had the contact. It's close to me. He's only signed a 6-month rent. He's told my aunt that he needed no more from next week, and the owner has put the house up for sale. So there you go. So more information coming out will be the same. I've already done that one as well. I think it's more like he doesn't like playing for Moyes Oiris. But as much as we can talk like about him not wanting to play under the style of Moyes, we can't deny that he is a different player to what we thought we were going to get. At the time of trying to sign Benrahma, it was going to be Benrahma, Eberechi Eze, and or the Diangana situation. Dianaga left. We didn't get Eze, who was Moyes' first choice, and we ended up with Benrahma. Now, Benrahma's stats on paper look amazing, like very, very good stats. Nobody can take them away from him. And he's a prime example of a player who's given us really good memories. His stats read really well. And if he was playing for an opposition team, we'd be wanting all over this signing. But we can see sometimes his output is disappointing as well. And apparently, you know, there's not just links to Saudi Arabia, it's France with clubs like Lyon and Marseille potentially interested as well. Scott says Benny is in France awaiting a transfer. Benny is just trying to force a move, respect his wish to leave. Respect his wish to leave. I never respect a player if they do decide not to play for the club. That would be massively disappointing if that did happen as well. I don't know, Peter, to be honest with you. When it comes to Benrahma, I think that West Ham have some form of leverage when it comes to trying to drive that price up if they want, scoring in a final of our European final, the amount of goal contributions he's had over his time at West Ham. If you look at that bigger picture, West Ham could have some form of leverage in there. I suppose the best amount of money we'll get would be coming from the Saudi leagues. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens as well. Small aging now, an injured squad relying on a few. I'd like to say we've been unlucky, but this was coming given the way we managed the squad. Yeah, I suppose if any player states they don't want to play, then stop their wages and fine them for breach of contract. Players are dropping like dominoes. I'll come back on to Benrahma in a second because there are, and I'll let you know the state of play with West Ham right now. So let me cover this player first, who we have spoken about already. Now, we have had an interesting journalist speak out about the current situation at West Ham. His name is Jacob Steinberg. What we do know is he's highly connected to David Sullivan. So usually when he comes out with some of the stories, we are led to believe that they are closer to the truth than what we would know elsewhere. So he's got a direct link to David Sullivan, and this information that comes from him came from his article in The Guardian. And what he said is that Mickey Antonio could be out for up to 6 weeks with his latest knee injury, which in turn may force West Ham to alter their transfer plans this month. Now, David Moyes was already facing disruption this season due to the fact that Lucas Paqueta limped off in our 1-1 draw at Bristol City in the third round in the FA Cup on Sunday, and as did this man here, Jared Bowen, who we are waiting to find out some of the information on. Now, the situation I will also say to you is that nobody yet knows the severity of these two players' injuries. Now, we have been told they've gone for scans or are going for scans, and I don't believe the results are back yet, or if they are back, the club may have them, but nobody else knows. I'm hearing little snippets of people saying there could be some ligament damage to Jared Bowen, but we have to wait and see. Let's remain calm on this situation before we judge the situation. It doesn't look great. It didn't look great, but we still don't know what the severity of these injuries are. So we do have to hold off with that as well. What we do know, though, is we will not have this man, Mohamed Kudus, because he is away with Ghana at the African Cup of Nations. He has also picked up an injury, and we're led to believe that he is seeking help and support out in Africa for his injury, which I find quite interesting, because if he has got the injury that he's got, I would have thought that West Ham would have been able to keep him in our system to protect him. And if he is better, then go out to the African Cup of Nations. But he is Ghanaian through his bones and will want to be with that team through their biggest competition. Obviously, that happens as well. Now, another thing and the current state of play with West Ham is the lack of depth, which has been exposed in our attack. Pablo Fornal, Said Benrahma, Max Cornet, Danny Ings, and Divine Mbama have all made kind of little impressions in recent outings. And West Ham would want to bring in more quality to our squad. This is what Jacob Steinberg is saying. However, we don't have a huge budget this month, and incomings are likely to depend on sales. Now, this is the interesting part. So we are supposedly interested in this guy here, Max Kilman. Max Kilman. Now, I think he would be a bloody great signing, if I'm being really honest with you, because we definitely need recruits in our centre-back, actually in our defensive area. But apparently, if we're going to go for Max Kilman, we need to allow Naif Aguerd to leave, which for me doesn't really make sense, apart from the fact he would bring in a transfer fee. But that shakes up our defence too much. What's the point in selling Naif Aguerd to bring Max Kilman in when I don't think Naif Aguerd's the problem? He may hold an asset. He may have more opportunity to bring more money in, but we're not any further forward. We just are resetting. We're getting a borderline like for like. The only difference is one is Premier League, long-term Premier League proven, but it doesn't make any financial, business, footballing sense for me if you get rid of a player of the quality, in my opinion, of Aguerd to bring in a player for Max Kilman when you are then still stuck with Ogbonna and Zuma etc., etc. For me, that one does not make sense. So for me, I've already done a video on it. Should West Ham sell Naif Agard? Absolutely not. If he doesn't want to be at the club, it's different. But if he does and he wants to give the chance at the club, then so be it. He needs to stay here. And we need to build a team around him if we are going to eventually come away from this low block style of football, because he's a better central defender when he doesn't play in a low block style, albeit we are playing in that position right now. Now, before I move on, I'm going to jump into the comments because there are so many comments. So let me just quickly see what everyone else is saying. Here we go. Our squad is banging trouble. Can't see more than a mid-table finish unless we sign 2 or 3 players in this window. I trust him will bring in a few quality players. Well, that's a good point, Scott, because the situation is as follows. We are putting the faith in Tim Steidten to go and do his job abroad. And if we are to believe that that is what he is doing, then we need to believe in the system. It's as simple as that. We take a responsibility, right, as a YouTube channel, as a social media page, to report some of the news. The one thing I will say to you is that it's tough. We want to bring you the news that we hear, but we are absolutely stating there is no facts to these stories. It's more of a report. And I think we have an obligation to put that stipulation out to you as fans. Just because we have someone emails us with some little bit of insider information does not mean it's factual. I've said that to Russ all along. I don't believe anything until it's put on the West Ham website, but I like to be able to report. I like to be able to look at the situation, do a little bit of due diligence and think, does this one make sense or not? Now, what we're led to believe is Tim Steidten is doing the job he is doing. He's abroad. He's looking at players, trying to bring them in. But we have an obligation to report within reason, but give you an opinion, but can't state guaranteed facts on a lot of these situations. We don't know. We don't know. As much as we might receive an email here, there, and everywhere from people, we get told information from some people. Nobody knows, in my opinion. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong. Who knows? I didn't Everton fans try and warn us about Moyes and how he ran them into the ground? Well, no, actually, a lot of Everton fans I've spoke to over the years have said that they would absolutely take him back. No ifs or buts about it. Benny needs to stay. We need him. I don't know, mate. I think if there's an asset there who can generate some income for us to be able to go into the market, does Benny add value to our squad? I'm not being disrespectful. I'm not being horrible. But in my humble opinion, I don't think Benrahma does. Benny is better suited to continental football than in the Premier League. I'd love for him to be played more in a kind of centralized position, to be honest with you. I think he would be suited more there, but it's never going to happen, is it? Good evening, Anton. Thank you very much for joining us, mate. Are we panic buying mode yet, Anton? To be honest with you, Mark, though, I've got to believe in the system. I've got to believe in the system that we've got with regards to Tim Steidten as well. But listen, I'm not finished yet. Let me go more in depth about what the situation is at West Ham now. With regards to our attack, we were supposedly be willing to listen to offers for Danny Ings, who was initially and probably still is a loan target for Wolves, because they don't have the greatest of financial circumstances themselves. But they and West Ham may be forced to keep this man because of Antonio's setback. And I don't know how I feel about this one, if this is true, because for me, as you probably all agree, it's time for Danny Ings to leave the club, especially at the salary that he earns at West Ham. Now, with the fact that he is heading out the door, I honestly see no problem with him going out the door, even if we didn't bring a recruit in. I would want us to bring a recruit in, but I would rather, and this is the debate about Divine Mbama. Some people are turning around going, he needs to go out on loan to the Championship. But I don't necessarily 100% agree with that, because he has played a couple of games. He's a young player and he's been thrown in at the deep end at West Ham. I think he's done okay. He's done okay in comparison to Mipu or the Biku, but I don't think all these players have to go and get that experience, because some players around the world are capable of stepping in and actually turning up and doing a job. And I think Mbama would really suit given a run of games. Just given a run of games. I think you'll adapt to the surroundings that you're playing in. He has shown that adaptation through his whole career from a kid up to the under-23s. He can do it. And he has given us glimpses of moments which make me feel more confident that there is absolutely a player there. He's not signed his contract yet, but we're hearing that conversations are taking place with him, Mbama, about signing a kind of longer-term contract with West Ham. And I hope he does, because I do think there's something there, but I don't think stop-starting 20 minutes here, there, and everywhere is going to be the benefit of him. If we're going to struggle, if we're not going to have Antonio, we're not going to have Kudus, then are you telling me that Danny Ings is an option over Mbama? Absolutely not. No, put Mbama on and give him support. That's exactly where I think we should be. Right, let me jump into the comments. There's loads more. I've still got stuff to talk about as well, so let me see what everyone else is saying. Where are we? Good evening, Anton. We need Jesse Lingard in Benny's place, in my opinion, as an attempt if Benny goes. Conversation I'll let you all talk about in the chat. Whether Taggart and our Flick will agree on players to sign. If Benny isn't going to play for us, then let him leave and get some money while we can. Benny's upset at AFCON and blames Moyes. Probably some element to that as well. But at the end of the day, we can only judge him from when he plays, and he has previously played, and he's not been producing the goods. I go back to a game we played last year. Was it against Aston Villa? And did we draw the game 2-2, or the year before? And he set up 2 goals, but had one of his worst games in a West Ham career. That's a prime example of stats. Like, stats highlighted that he could have been one of the best players, but was probably one of the worst performers on the day. However, got 2 results. And I suppose that then brings up the whole conversation about West Ham as a whole. Do West Ham play great football every week? Absolutely not. Do we get results? Yes. So is Benny one of those players? But I think it's about pieces of the jigsaw, and I don't think he fits the jigsaw, if I'm really being honest with you. We will not sign real quality players in January, then everyone is fit players will not want to sit on the bench. It's a good point to make, and I don't think we're going to go heavily into the kind of first team players in the January market. But let's not take away 2 things here. 2 players I want to bring to your attention in particular will be signed in the January transfer window: Jared Bowen and Tommy Soucek. So we can't always underestimate a player that does come in the January window and can make a transition into the West Ham first team and can be very good long-term West Ham football. And those 2 players were definitely them. Saudi matches have smaller crowds. I've seen them, man, and sometimes it's embarrassing. It's a bit more, absolutely. Artel, Anton agreed. Oh, Benny, original form. He was superb at Brentford in the BMW. He was really, really good. He was really good. I remember thinking back to when we were looking at him. I accepted him, but I absolutely wanted Eberechi. Absolutely would have been. I think he would have. I think hindsight's a wonderful thing. If you had a square hole, you'd be shitting bricks. But if we got Eberechi, oh my days, man! I think honestly we wouldn't have looked back from that signing. I don't think we would have looked back from that signing. The saving grace is that we only really have 3 games between now and February the 1st. Leon says he wants to leave in the summer. Why he signed only 6 months on his house. Yeah, absolutely. Moyes has had a lot of money. Can't blame Sully. No, he's had a lot of money, but if we're just going to focus on West Ham with the money, we have to. I don't think that's the right thing to do. You've got to focus on the rest of the league, and then you've got to look at the size of the club and the size of the stadium and the size of the amount of fans that turn up week in and week out. And I think it's relatable. I think everyone, not just West Ham has spent that money, gone up in terms of spending the money, but so has Bournemouth, so is Wolves, so is Crystal Palace, so is every club at West Ham, and it's all comparable in terms of the size, in terms of the season ticket sales, in terms of the regular attendances, in terms of the positioning in the league. I think West Ham are not, just because he's been given £500 million over specific seasons, doesn't mean that we should be guaranteeing that we're going from here to there like that, because it's relatable. It's relatable. Inflation, it's relatable. Peter Chelmsford matches coming up would be hard with a fully fit squad, but with injuries will be tough. Absolutely. Good morning, Hammers. Gary J, good to see you. Our medical team must be the worst in the league. My worry would be going forward with only Augie and Zuma fit as centre-backs, and that's what doesn't make sense with me with the Agerd situation and Max Keelman. Do you know what? Bring Max Keelman in and keep Agerd, but the budget's supposedly low, so we'll see. And I think it's definitely an area. It's an area that I think I would prefer West Ham to concentrate on in the January window. That and a striker. I can handle what we've got elsewhere because we're scoring goals. And recently we've not been conceding goals, but I'm concerned defensively. I am. I'm not going to lie to you. Kilman better in 3 than he is in a 4. Now Team Moises are going to have to earn their money. Kudos had the back injury before he left. Don't agree with selling Agerd. Kilman doesn't want to come to West Ham. With Kira gone and Cress most likely out, the only coverage centre-back is Johnson and Sufal, if Dino's is hurt. And the thing is, with Ben Johnson, I think he's actually put himself in good light at West Ham. He just hasn't signed the contract, and Vladimir Sufal's not happy. So there's problems stretching throughout that we're hearing about. But, you know, you can hear these things. These things are easy to report on. And we always like the bad news, of course, when it comes to West Ham. But what we don't ever really focus on is the positive. Sometimes it makes sense if a Gerd's not happy. Surely, has Moyes based his management on how to man managed by Joseph Stalin? There are a few targets now refusing to come due to the system. Well, we'll have to wait and see. Maybe it's that Kilman is homegrown. Well, he is as well, absolutely. He does meet that criteria for being a homegrown player. But I do think he is a quality centre-back. He's the captain of Wolves. He's the captain. He's the captain of the club. Afternoon, Anton and West Ham family. You're late. The issue is that traditionally West Ham have not always had great January windows. I'm jealous of the red hammer you have, Gary. Anton said the colour means you're more important. I'm jealous of the red hammer you have, Gary. Anton said the colour means you're more important. What did I say? What did I say? Question: if Tim fails to bring in targets, it will be Moyes, Sully, or Tim at fault? It's a good question, Ronnie. It's a really good question, but let's judge that come the end of the window. He knows what he's got to work with. He's out there doing his job. I would assume he's getting... Let's not remember, since Tim's been in, all the deals we've done have been later in the window, so I don't expect anything to happen really soon. We've lost a target today, Ian Maatsen. Looks like he's off to Borussia Dortmund, so any sign of bringing him in is gone. You know, if you don't move fast on those deals, you're never going to get them, but maybe West Ham were never necessarily interested in him as well. Herdegard was saying he's still ill with that bug in order to save himself for the AFCON. If that's true, another player refusing to play for the club, things are made worse than maybe what they seem. The interesting thing here, Richard, is that I heard the same thing, right? But to be quite honest with you, again, I don't really know. I don't know how we would know. I don't know how we would know. Because I don't actually know if a Gerd would turn around and go, Moyes, I'm not well enough. But what I'll do is I'll go tell my mate I'm actually well enough, but I just want to play in the AFCON. Like, to me, I'm looking at it practically, and I just don't think a Gerd would do that. I don't think he would do that. I just don't think he would. Heard Tim was in south of France, bringing back Fofana would be a nice addition. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? I love Benny, always have, but he's finished at West Ham. Benny out, Berwin in. Yeah, I mean, listen, he could be a good signing. I think a lot of people are judging him based upon his Tottenham track record, but that's not always necessarily the right thing to do because he's banging it at Ajax. He's been doing well at Ajax. He's not world beater or anything like that, but he's got great stats. He looks like he's the kind of better article of what Benrahma was. Cuts in, gets the ball, distributes the ball really well, and gets, you know, I think I read some crazy stat about the amount of wasted chances that Benrahma has, and Berwin doesn't have those wasted chances as well. He did well for Brentford, hence why we signed him, Scott. We're bringing in the beer and wine instead of... I've said before, we keep a Gerd stick, a 60 million value. That's the thing. That's the thing that sells him for me, is money. It comes down to money. Stupid money comes in, then I'm all for it. It's 27. If Keep Ings, we'd played him correctly, which he knows Moyes won't. The thing is, if we keep Danny Ings, right, it's over to Danny Ings for the month of January, and he needs to, more than ever, step up. He would have to step up, dramatically have to step up. Danny Ings is one of the worst strikers we have signed. To be honest with you, GP, I don't think he is. He's the list of strikers is ridiculous. Have you not seen the list of strikers we've signed and have been so unsuccessful? I genuinely think Danny Ings is not even in the top 10. I don't think he is. They are offering 20 million for Benny. It's our money back at least. Yeah. Ings will not go to the championship team. Thinks so. Ings will play in the replay. Danny Ings' situation is, if he doesn't want to go to the championship, so be it. But there's only one club I think he could go to and would go to, and that would be Southampton. That's his boyhood club, and I think that would be the only club he would go. I wouldn't keep Ings if we arranged the whole team around him. He's played for us 2 up top. He was still from Mr. Sampson. There you go. Toby has spoken. I think Benny would have been good for West Ham with a different manager. Moyes has affected many players with a negative approach and attitude towards them. I don't know. It's ifs, buts, or maybes. There's one player that I've always been a bit iffy about and wanted to do so well at West Ham, and it was Saeed Benrahma. But it's just not transpired. But you look at his goal contributions, and they're up there. Mega up there. Granny Dings is the new Marco Boogers. Benny is fast enough to play left wing in the Premier League. Is not fast enough, you should say. He goes on Moyes, changes his style. have been nurtured into assisting goals, a good winger, and not as Moyes does and ignores him and makes him feel unwanted. Ben is a number 10, not a winger. From Michael, West Ham is a striker's graveyard. Yeah, we don't have a great relationship with them as well, do we at all? They won't talk about you. Here we go. Ings must have one hell of a caravan. He's talking about. What are you all talking about? Maybe one signed perm and a couple of loans top. Join me for the Hammers headlines. I'll go into a little bit more depth of a couple of players we've gone about. This player is an interesting one, Ekitike, because I think there's so much issues there with him that I'm starting to be even remotely concerned that we would even want the player in our door. And I do talk about another player similar to that in the Hammers headlines later on. Mark says, with all the first team injuries, our bench has to be full of youngsters in the next few matches. It'll be interesting to see how they get on. Absolutely. But will it? Ekitike could be on his way to Wolves. 45 million for Kilman. Well, I don't know what else we're going to expect if we're going to be looking at a Premier League defender, 6'4", left-footed, captain of his club. What else are we going to pay? What else are we going to pay? Inflation must be why we have an ancient, broken-down squad. Could be true. Ben Johnson had a decent game for the first time in about 2 years. Zumanogi, yeah, but then what I will say, Toby, is, you know, he has played everywhere along that back line, and I don't think you can get form of consistency if you're told to do that. And everyone will turn around and say, well, if you're a professional footballer, you've got to learn your trade and play everywhere we're asked. But some players aren't like that at all. Genuinely are not. Like for me, if you were asked me, you know, I played centre back, centre half. I would feel slightly uncomfortable playing in midfield. I never liked playing in midfield. I like playing up top. I feel like I could always win the ball, hold up play. But yeah, apart from that, I just wanted to defend. Every sport I've done, even when I played tennis, I was always defensive. I played basketball, I was always defensive. Some people just think like that, and I think he is just simply a fullback, a right fullback. Don't think he wants to be a centre back. Don't think he wants to be a left back, and he's been asked to play in all of those positions before. Zumanogi struggled to play more, one a game a week. Zuma has been playing slow motion on Sunday. Oggy and Zuma shouldn't go to the halfway line with a lack of speed. Should we not look at centre forward that plays at Bristol on Sunday, young and hungry, and played on his own? Nah. I think they had a good game against West Ham, but didn't really necessarily like the style of play that they were doing, to be honest. Don't get Kilman. Bowen torn him one the other week. I know. Where is it? It is there. It drives Russ insane, my tops. But I am getting a new setup. I'm getting new setups. So don't worry about that. Kent's in the house. We know football. We know word gets around. If I was a player and looked at West Ham games, I wouldn't want to play the style of play we play as a player. Could our style of play affect a signing? It possibly could. You're probably right, Kent, there in terms of looking at your flamboyant style of football. But then also something I would want to look at would be the Paquetá situation, the Bowen, the Kudos. Like, why did they sign? Because we've not changed our style of play from before the summer window to now. So why have they signed? And why have they given us something? Do they believe in the project? Is there a project there? That's the thing. That's the long game. What's the long game? Who knows? Teams know we're desperate and inflate the prices. From Peter, Berwin, and Kudos Alvarez all play together, so already should be in sync. Berwin. Just because he's doing well for us doesn't mean he'll do well for us. Same with Kilman. No, absolutely right, Matt. 100%. But I do think that there is something in a Premier League proven defender who's at the height of his game. And I think there's no ifs or buts about it. We need to build a new defence. Really, as a whole, the whole defence is the biggest transition we will have to make. If we can keep hold of some of the players, the defence is the biggest problem. Zuma, Ogbonna, Gerd, Mavropanos, whom I rate to a certain extent. Sifal on his way out, technically, in terms of age and footballing terms and stuff like that. Ben Johnson doesn't want to sign a contract. Taylor Kira's gone on loan. Creswell, aging left back. Defence is our big issue. Alec Ings is a chap. He's overpaid for about 60k a week. Do you think it is the end of the cut run for the under-21s tonight? Well, who knows? And we might be doing a watch-along for it as well. So stay tuned. I'll keep you updated on that. Ekitike is awful. 3 goals in 22 games. There's something not right there, though. Thinks he's better than he is. That could be it. That could be it. 60k a week would get his channel a proper hot tub. Absolutely. I don't think he's as bad as Granny Ings. He's good enough for Slowly. I don't think Ings is. Listen, short and sweet one for you, but there you go. What the situation at West Ham is, does this geezer want out? And it looks like he does. And I think we need to we hold, for me, like the negotiation tool here. We can't lose money on him. We need to make minimum what we had. I think the best money we'll get will be from Saudi Arabia. It could be, we won't get the same money we'll get if he goes to France, but I think he will be going there. But there are potential problems there. Jacob Steinberg's written his Guardian article. Of course, the situation with him is he's close to the top of David Sullivan. So usually the information that does come out is 9 times out of 10 true. We are linked to a few other players, Sunderland's Jack Clark as well, which I'll talk to you about in the Hammers lines. And there you go. That's your West Ham daily for today. I hope you're all well. Hope you're all keeping safe. Thank you very much for all the support on the channel as per usual. I'm back to work, so I do need to go back to work. That's my lunch time done. So thank you for joining me, and join me for the Hammers headlines later on. Thank you very much. Peace out. At one point in this show, I did talk you through the Premier League usage of rotation of players. So if there's one thing you take from this show today, have a look at that. Take it easy. Come on, you